I find it truly fascinating when leaders of large technical projects, of large software projects, make extremely influential and extremely dramatic decisions about what technology to pursue or to include, based heavily and sometimes even purely on political reasons. Not technical reasons, not usability reasons, not user case scenario reasons, but purely based on politics. And it's fascinating to me that this happens at all, and it's amazing to me how often it happens. Case in point, Alpine Linux, a not entirely insignificant Linux distribution, has made a declaration that they will not allow XLibre, a fork of the Xorg X server, to be included in their Linux distribution. And what's more, they've said that they will be seeking a code of. I'm just going to read the quote here. Quote, "Let me be more direct. If anyone merges XLibre, meaning includes XLibre into Alpine Linux, I will be pursuing a code of conduct violation against them, because the XLibre project represents an unacceptable ideology. This is about politics, not just software," end quote. All of that was their quote. This is about politics, not just software. That's their quote. They're making a choice about what software to include based purely on political ideology. And now, what is the unacceptable ideology, the political ideology that they must fight against? It is that XLibre is not going to discriminate against people who want to be involved in the project, right? XLibre made a statement. They had this big old paragraph-long statement when the project was announced that stated that anyone was allowed and welcome to work on their fork of the Xorg open source X11 implementation, XLibre. And it didn't matter what your politics were, what your gender was, what country you were working from. None of that mattered. You could work on them. They even made a couple of jokes about you could be like a furry animal from Alpha Centauri or whatever. It didn't matter. Whatever you are, whatever you think you are, whatever you want to be, you can hang out with them and work on XLibre. That openness, that willingness to work with anyone was unacceptable to the people behind Alpine Linux. I've got this quote up here, and I find it absolutely fascinating. This is about politics. This is about politics. Someone made a merge request to bring the XLibre X server in, and it was blocked because of that very reason. And the person who did the blocking, his name is Ariadne Connell. I'm sorry, Ariadne, if I'm mispronouncing your name. And Ariadne will be pursuing a code of conduct violation for anyone who suggests that Alpine Linux, who even just suggests that they use the XLibre Xorg fork. This is Ariadne with horns. I think Ariadne is dressed up as a pink-haired jackalope there. It's there's so many things that I could say right now. I'm gonna move on a little bit. But this is an ongoing issue. Let's see. Do I have the thing from OpenSUSE here? Yes, I do. OpenSUSE, another Linux distribution, is also making a kind of a not quite as firm, but moving towards a firm refusal of XLibre. One of their former OpenSUSE board members, a gentleman who does not like me very much. We served on the board together some years back, and he was not a fan. He was not a fan. But he declared that XLibre is, quote, dead on arrival, full stop. Let me see if I've got this here. Yeah. Let me express my gut feelings here. XLibre is dead on arrival. The future is Wayland. Like we're not going back to Sys, Vianit, Lilo, and so on. Full stop here. And some of their other more active contributors over at OpenSUSE have declared that anyone who kind of has been suggesting that Wayland has issues or shortcomings, that like for example, if there's usability issues or accessibility issues, that those are lame excuses. Right, so those are lame excuses, and from the OpenSUSE point of view, those are they're not going to be dropping anything. I found that fascinating. I found that really, really fascinating that they're not going to go with that. Now, they've kind of stopped short. They didn't say they're going to pursue code of conduct violations. I think they're just not going to go with XLibre. Now, I know the people who are left at OpenSUSE. OpenSUSE went on a mass banning campaign over the last several years, like 3+ years at this point, where if anyone has expressed conservative views or the like, or even if they were unwilling to actively wave the trans flag, that's a real thing. Like if you weren't willing to wave the trans flag, you got banned from OpenSUSE. Like if you said, I don't think I want to wave the trans flag, banned. I was an OpenSUSE board member, banned. I'm not even allowed on their mailing lists anymore, and I'm not alone. I've heard from dozens and dozens of people who just said things on the OpenSUSE mailing list like, I guess we don't really need to be too political, banned. So the only people that are really left vocal within OpenSUSE and really driving things are very, very extreme left politically. I mean, that's just the case. The few non-extreme leftists left within OpenSUSE are basically terrified into silence. They can't speak out. The moment they do, banned. That's just how it is, right? So that there's a political reality here. Right, people are making these decisions based on purely political leanings, and like this Ariadne Connell from over on the Alpine Linux project, saying flat out, quote, "This is about politics," end quote. If anyone merges XLibre, I will be pursuing a code of conduct violation against them, end quote. XLibre represents an unacceptable ideology, end quote. And that, of course, again, the acceptable ideology is openness, a willingness to work with people, and acceptingness, tolerance, however you want to phrase it. But Alpine Linux is opposed to that. I mean, as is, you see that again on Fedora, you see that on OpenSUSE, you see that on such a wide variety of Linux distributions. One of my favorite developers out there is a guy that has been working on things like AppImage and Hello System. If you haven't seen AppImage is great. AppImage, the idea behind AppImage is simple. It is take all the files necessary to run a piece of software, right? A bunch of the support libraries, custom versions of support libraries and whatnot, and stick them all inside of an ISO. Right, a .iso file, and make it so when you auto mount the ISO, it auto runs it, and in effect, what it does is it takes applications that may have wildly different dependencies than the core system you're running, and makes it easy to run on whatever system, all from a single double-clickable single file executable. It's a really, really, really cool setup. It's a great way to distribute software on Linux. Anyway, the developer behind AppImage put together a simple list over on GitHub called "Are We XLibre Yet?" And it's just a list of distributions, Linux or BSD, and where they currently stand on XLibre. It's very, very useful. I've posted this up over on my X. You can just search, if you search on github.com for "Are we XLibre yet?" .md, you'll find it right away. But it's got a list there. And what we see right now is there are some Linux distributions that are packaging XLibre and make it so you can grab the packages now. OpenMandriva, Artix, Vipnix, and Arch all have packages available now. There's more in the works, quite a few more in the works, actually. But it also lists a number of distributions where it looks like the answer is a firm no. And what I really appreciate about this particular list that he's putting together is it links to the discussions where people, express the reason why they're not going to include XLibre. Or just X11 support in general in some cases, and some of those cases like Ubuntu removed is removing all X11 support, XLibre or otherwise, because it's going along with GNOME, and GNOME is taking a hard stance, basically a hard anti X11 stance. But then there's Alpine Linux and Fedora Linux. Man, they are not having it. They are not having it with XLibre. And Alpine, we just talked about that quite a bit now. The list here also says it's unclear what Debian is doing, FreeBSD and Linux Mint. It also says it's unclear about OpenSUSE. I would say it's unclear, but trending towards they won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. What was the quote here? Dead on arrival, full stop. And anyone who's not using Wayland is just making lame excuses. I'd say that's pretty clear. I don't think OpenSUSE is going to touch it. But here we are. I mean, here we are. It's 2025. We have a huge amount of modular pieces of software available to us within the world of open source systems, a wide variety of kernels and userland systems and whatnot, OpenBSD and FreeBSD and NetBSD and Linux of varying revisions and for varying platforms and multiple other systems out there. And then on top of that, it gets even more wildly diverse. I mean, we've got, people could use Wayland, or people could use an X11 variation, which at this point could mean Xorg or XLibre. And we've got a lot of options out there. I find it curious and interesting that the projects like Alpine Linux and others, that where the people have been the most exclusionary, where the people have been the most discriminatory, are taking the fiercest stance in making decisions about their software project based on politics, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, you look at Alpine Linux. I guarantee you, if I showed up in the Alpine Linux forum and said, "Hello, everybody, Lunduke here. I'd like to contribute and be a part of this project," oh man, I guarantee you, I'd get the boot so quick. So very, very, very quick. I mean, it's just like with OpenSUSE, like they don't even allow me in. It doesn't matter what I want to say. It doesn't matter what I want to do. It doesn't matter if I want to give them $1 bazillion. They will not take me in, right? And so the people that are the most exclusionary, the most discriminatory, tend to be also the people that make the decisions based purely on political reasons, not technical reasons, not use case reasons. Whereas, again, let's pull up this list here and let's look at this list. Arch. Now, Arch is an interesting one because as a general rule, Arch stays clear of the politics. Now, there's some Arch forum issues. There's some Arch chat server issues where groups in there have kind of gone crazy, discriminatory, and left-wing lunatic-y. But Arch as a distribution itself and as the core project has not. Same with OpenMandriva. OpenMandriva has just stayed non-discriminatory. Like, it's not that there's some crazy right-wing conservative distribution. I mean, maybe some of the people in it are a bit conservative, but they kind of let everyone in, right? It doesn't matter. You can be left, you can be right, up, down, whatever. They're kind of open to anything. And when they see something like XLibre come along, what is their first thought? Oh, a fork of a project that was dying for whatever reason. So that seems like a good thing. So if we want to keep going with that, let's support it, right? Whereas you look at Alpine Linux or OpenSUSE or Fedora, and they're just not touching it. They're just not having it. In fact, Fedora, when they were having their discussion about whether or not to support XLibre, they brought up my name. It was like, oh, a bunch of bigots like Lunduke and other bigots too. It's something like that is what they said. And they get really just absolutely incensed over the political stuff. And I wish that so many of these projects, many of which have really distinctly interesting technical aspects, right? Some of these are good projects. These are like Fedora has quality to it. It has many different use cases and many different pieces of technology that are valuable, that are interesting, that are well designed, that are well engineered, that are well run in many cases. I wish that they wouldn't allow that sort of just diseased way of thinking where they're like, you know what, we're going to make these decisions based on our angry political views because of that stupid bigot Lunduke. He likes a thing, so we're not going to use it. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that they would do that to themselves, that they would shoot themselves in the foot that way. But here we are, and that does seem to be what is happening. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers, by the way, for allowing me to talk about these topics, for allowing me to put a lot of this stuff out there into the world. By the way, if you don't follow me on X, I recommend it. Not because X is the end-all be-all of platforms. And if you don't want to use X, don't use X. It's fine. You're still going to get the good stuff every other platform I publish to. But I kind of have been using X lately as sort of a fire hose of stuff comes in, I throw it up on X just to get the news out quickly, right? So as stuff comes in, like for example, the news about Alpine Linux and the developer behind Alpine Linux, and they're going all about politics. As that news was coming in, I posted up on X for people to see, to comment on. It's a great way for me to publish something, take a link to it, and send it to other people for comment, for clarification, for verification, before I present it all to all of you. And so if you want to kind of get the undistilled, just raw stream of just all sorts of stuff like this as it breaks, X is a great way to do it. But of course, all of the tech news, as I distill it down, as I research it more, and as it's ready to really present to the world, will of course be everywhere else that I publish all of the Lunduke Journal. So Locals and Rumble and X and YouTube and Facebook and Patreon, the RSS podcast feed, which I know is where probably most of you grab the show at, Fountain, iTunes, Substack, Spotify, it's Patreon. You can grab it at Patreon. It's everywhere, man. And of course, if you are a subscriber, you can gain access to our exclusive forum where we all kind of can just hang out. And again, all those links are all up there at lunduke.com, and it's beautiful. It's the best website on the internet. And with that, thank you again to all of you subscribers. I couldn't do this without you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across this fine and glorious inner tube of ours, I do declare, end broadcast.